Chair Stewart, we are live and good to go.
Morning, everyone. I'd like to call to order the Township of Monaghan, the Municipal Revitalization and Heritage Advisory Committee meeting for Thursday, June 19th, 2025 at 9:05 a.m. Our land acknowledgements. We respectfully acknowledge that the Township of Cavan Monaghan is located on the Treaty 20 Michi-Saugee territory in the traditional territory of the Michi-Saugee and Nebe. We offer our gratitude to First Nations for their care for and teachings about these lands. May we honor these teachings. So in front of you, you have our agenda for today. It was circulated last week. If you had a chance to review it prior to the meeting, fantastic. If not, if we could take a minute just to flip through. And when you have, if I can have a motion. Motion. Thank you, Chanel. Seconder, Nancy, thank you. All in favor? Okay. Also have as an additional document to our meeting today, a hard copy of the cultural resource mapping project, which goes in tandem with item number 6 on our agenda today. So we do need a motion to adopt the presentation itself. So again, if I can have a motion to adopt it. Thank you, Nancy. Seconder, Chanel. Thank you. All in favor? Motion carried. Fantastic. Okay. Item number 4, disclosure of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof. So again, just reminding anybody if there is something on the agenda that is a personal nature or there's a conflict of interest, please just to let us know. Chanel, okay, perfect. And Mark, do we need to identify which one?
Yes, please.
Okay. Number 7.2 Duncan Street, Iona. Okay. So I guess we just direct when we get to that item in the agenda for the committee member to step out. Is that fair to say? Perfect. Okay. No motion or anything needed there. We've never done that one before, so okay. Moving on to item number 5, minutes. So in the meeting agenda that was circulated, we have the minutes of the meeting held on March 20th, April 30th, and June the 5th. Apparently, we could just group those together in one motion, unless there's any issues with the meetings, or sorry, with the minutes as presented. If I could have a motion. Deborah, thank you. A seconder, Nancy, thank you. All in favor? Motion passed. Great. Okay, so we can jump into our presentation for today, the cultural mapping project demonstration by Maxim Cannon.
May I?
I was just gonna ask if someone would like to do a little introduction.
I wouldn't mind, please.
Okay.
So, thank you. So Maxim is here. So Maxim is our summer student for 2025. He has been hired by the township to update the cultural resource mapping for the township of Cavan Monaghan. So back in 2011, the township embarked on the project. That was the initiation of the project, and at that time, a cultural resource mapping was created, and there was an associated report, and that mapping identified heritage properties, cultural assets, events, businesses that were culturally orientated as well. That was all mapped, and as I said, there was a report to go with it. Since 2011, it hasn't really been updated, and as I'm sure most of you are aware, there have been significant changes in Cavan Monaghan over the last 14 years. So we have hired Maxim to update the mapping, and he is working in tandem with the Historical Society, and we are very grateful for their assistance. They have been very good about providing expertise and helping get some documents, and that relationship continues on, and we will be using their resources as we move forward. So Maxim is here today to give you an update of some of the work that he's done so far, just to give you a flavor of what is happening and what it might look like in the future. So the goal is when Maxim is done with the project, when you go on to the county GIS system, which is where the mapping is hosted, you will see updated information. So things like There's some barns that have been demolished, so they will be removed. Businesses that are no longer in business will be removed. Other things will be added, and most importantly, there will be some new information about the characteristic of that cultural asset. So I will.
Yeah, that's perfect. So yeah, hey everyone, my name is Maxim Tandon. Kara gave me a wonderful introduction there, and I've been tasked to update the 2011 Cultural Heritage Map and make a 2025 one. So go for it. So what I'll be talking about today is why we're embarking on this project, and what is in kind of my scope, and how I'm going to be completing it and what it can be used for. Yeah, go. So as Karen mentioned, the last cultural mapping project was completed in 2011. And so there was six kind of major assets, which can be further broken down into more assets. But the natural and cultural heritage is the main asset that I'll be focusing on in the 2025 version. And this includes everything from parks to built heritage like buildings, barns, churches, and then everything else. You have cultural industries, occupations, and organizations. So things like businesses, committees, and cultural organizations that are present within the township that have a good weight in terms of cultural asset. And facilities, spaces, festivals, events, and additional resources were also mapped in the 2011 report. These are less of a priority for me to be mapping, but the buildings will come first and then they'll hopefully follow. So this is the 2011 map, and this is what it looked like. This is the paper version, obviously. So in the county GIS, this is actually interactive. So all the little green triangles, well, everything you'd be able to click on, but the green triangles specifically, they are the built heritage. Some of these are designated, but the majority of them are actually non-designated properties. So in the 2011 cultural heritage map, which is still up on the GIS currently, you'd be able to click on any of these icons and some information about the icon would come up. Go ahead to the next. So my priority is to aim to revise and improve upon this map. So built heritage is my priority. So the designated and especially the non-designated built heritage. So specifically, these are churches, barns, and homes. And a couple of the tasks I've just kind of listed here. So I'm to take new photographs and update the information on the building. So when you do click on the icons, some information comes up, such as the quality, or sorry, the condition. Sometimes there'll be like a little bit of information about the history, but it's quite rare. So I'm trying to be adding more historical context onto it and have people understand why it's on the map and why it's important to, hopefully be there for more years to come. And as Karen mentioned, there's been lots of changes since 2011. Some buildings have been demolished. Some buildings may have been missed. Some of the photos are, labeled the incorrect building. So I'm just kind of cleaning that up, removing the demolished buildings. Some of them also have been abandoned and their condition has been significantly reduced. So I'm updating that if that is present, which is more than you think. And I'm, hopefully also adding potentially significant buildings to the map. So if I'm out, doing a site visit to a building in which I am to take pictures of that building, if I see another that is of similar age and kind of vintage and has good, historical importance behind it, I may suggest for it to be added to the map. And my secondary emphasis will be on the intangible assets. So events and cultural organizations that may not, you might not be able to see them as a object, but they are quite important to Captain Monaghan's cultural heritage. So this is the web version of the 2011 map. And so this is the information that comes up about the buildings or any of the cultural assets when you do click them. So you've got the architectural style, which I'll also be updating in some cases. And you've got, if it's designated or not, you've got the number and the type of the street, so its address. And that's kind of it. You sometimes have land use, and sometimes if it's a farm, you'll have what type of animal is, or crop is being farmed. My priority is to be adding a notes section, which in this notes section, which will be public, you will be able to see the historical information. Now, this is maybe 2-3 sentences of a little tidbit of historical context, either on the past inhabitants of the building, the builder, any significant events that have happened in that building or with that building. And if we know, what 2 or more of these pieces of information, we consider it worthy to be putting it on the map and, having people able to connect better with that history. So on the top left photo is an example of one of the buildings that we've taken a significant interest in the past. This is a house on Cedar Valley Road, and it is the former house of Adam Scott, Peterborough's first settler. And you might think that it's brick, so Adam Scott wouldn't be building that in 1828 when he came to Cedar Valley, which is true. He did not build the house that's in the top left photo. Walker Needler built that much later. But the second photo to the right on the top is the summer kitchen, which Adam Scott did build. And so I find this a good example to highlight because the 2011 photo does highlight a historic building, but it doesn't highlight the most important part, which is the part that Adam Scott built. And the reason that they couldn't, take a picture of the back is likely because they probably didn't have the property owner's permission to go around in their backyard and take a photo of the, historical part of the building. But I'm hoping with this project we can get into a bit more detail and add more context. On the right bottom is the millstone that was part of Adam Scott's mill in Cedar Valley. And this might have been called Slab Town, the lower mill. There's lots of different names for it. But there's some really good, rich history with this property and with lots of properties that I've been finding that have either been glossed over or maybe even not investigated in the first report. So that I'm just trying to expand upon a little bit and really highlight the importance of why we should be paying attention to these properties. So the nitty-gritty of it is the methods. So to determine if the property is worth it to us to investigate and update, because we have a list of 283 properties in the original cultural mapping project, I created a criteria of significance. So the 2 examples from the criteria of significance are that if the history of the building and past inhabitants owners is known, so if it's either interesting or important to the township, and if it has significant architectural elements indicative of like the 19th century. So you have a lot of older buildings which have architectural elements that are important to the township and that are more rare examples in Ontario. And as you folks know, the township has a higher concentration of designated properties than any other township in Ontario, but per capita. So once I, identify a building or a set of buildings, I do this by looking on land, which is the Ontario kind of land registry system where you're able to find historical records of properties. I also cross-reference this with the Green and Pleasant Land because there's lots of mentions of builders and family history that can be tied to certain properties. I am in contact with Kim McLeod from the Historical Society, and we've done some collaborating on finding more information about past inhabitants, specifically, what they did in their lives and what contributions they made to building the township in the early pioneer days. And other online sources, whatever I can find, gravestones, things like this that may indicate a significant piece of history. And so once I've determined if the property is worth it to investigate more into, I will actually just go to the property, take some photos from the road if I don't have permission from the owner. So if I knock on the door and they're not there, I'll just have to go back to the road, take a couple photos from the road. If they are there and if they allow me to go into their property, I'll do a walk around their house, take anywhere between 5 to 20 photographs, depending on how big the building is. And I'll make updates on the iPad. There's an app called Field Maps, and I'll make updates to this app on the building condition and any other historical notes that I find while I'm there. So some of the history that I'm looking at are the 3 framed indentures on the front. This has come from the Adam Scott house, and it was very interesting to look at these, and I'm still looking at them. And then other resources I'm utilizing are some books like Green and Pleasant Land, the Significant Architecture book of Millbrook, the last cultural map, which is on the right just above the magnifying glass, and any other historical records that I'm able to look through. So I'm hoping that this can be used for tourism, education, and historical preservation. So tourism is one thing that more people are getting into, architectural and historical heritage tourism. And it is well known that Millbrook, especially the town center of Millbrook, is quite historic, and people go there because it's a quaint, historic Ontario town. But we have a whole bunch of undesignated buildings that are also a big draw for people. They'll be driving along the road and they go, wow, look at that house. So this is something that if families are able to look at the history of their home, it's also a method of historical preservation. And to take it even a step further, it may be the first step in designating some properties. Of course, this is, a much longer process. But just gathering the history on a property is the first step in that direction. And this just increases the protection of the township's cultural assets. So thank you everyone for listening, and let me know if you have any questions. Yeah.
So what if we're driving around, we become familiar with what's already in here?
Yeah.
We see something, should we be getting in touch with you and saying, hey, have you checked this one out, or?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why not. I think a lot of the ones that are visible from the road were covered in the 2011 map, and if they're, still significant and still up, as in not demolished or collapsed, I have probably added them to this map.
Okay.
So go like, you're able to do that. Karen, do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, no, we're happy to receive ideas.
Okay.
Just be aware that Maxim's here till the middle of August kind of thing. So we are trying, that is our goal, to get the 283
Yeah.
and whatever else we can get accomplished in that time.
Yeah, I'll check, if I see something, I'll double check the map, make sure you haven't already got it.
Yeah.
Because, you could be driving down another road, you don't go down normally, and you go, wait, there's a really cool place.
Yeah.
Documented or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's definitely some properties out there that weren't on the 2011 map. The only thing is, when you're driving and you check the map, you won't be checking mine, you'll be checking 2011 because mine isn't public.
Oh, no, this thing, that's what I'm saying, is the old one,
Yeah, so
Yeah,
yeah, the old one, totally, you'd be
okay.
able to see, yeah.
that's right, yeah.
And one last thing I must add too, that just we must be grateful and thankful to Peterborough County GIS Department, because they have created the app for Maxim to actually go in the field and do this. And he can add the notes, and I can go into the app and do checking, and
Yeah.
so without their assistance, none of this would have been possible. So we are grateful for their assistance as well. So this really is a collaborative project between different levels of government and our local
Yeah.
historical society and the townships.
Yes, I completely glossed over the app, my mistake, by accident. The app is called Field Maps, and it's quite good. I've actually used it in my university endeavors as well. And it's good for field work because you can enter data offline and upload pictures offline as well. So I can go there. There's a bunch of fields that I can there's check boxes that I can say it's this condition, good condition. I can put notes right then and there while looking at the building, and then I can submit it. It gets kind of sent to Karen. When she checks the map, she can choose to approve it or decline it for any reason. And that gives her a opportunity to look over it before it goes public. And it gives me opportunity to get the accurate information right on the site.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so by the time we meet in September, well, hopefully, there will be a finished project for you to go on to the county GIS and have a little stroll around, see what's new.
Yep.
Do we need a motion to just do advice?
I would suggest you have a motion, just receive the presentation for information.
So as Mark recommended, if I can have a motion to accept the cultural mapping project demonstration as presented. Doug, thank you. Secondary, Deborah, are in favor? Fantastic. Okay, Moving on to general business. So item 7.1 is the old Millbrook School, 1 Dufferin Street, the plan renovations. I don't see Kyle. but-
So, yeah, Kyle is absent, so I'll take over here today. So we're looking, I think we're down to shingles for the old school project. We brought in 4 samples here and we're looking for the committee to make a decision today on which shingle they'd like to see on the old school. So we have, Reson Shake, first one. We have weathered wood, second one. We have a plain black, and then we have colonial slate over here. So if you'd like to review and discuss on the colors, and if you'd like to move forward, if we can get a decision. I can slide a bit out of the way here.
There we go.
About that we need.
That's what happened.
So currently, it's more of a practice on the building right now.
Did we talk about gray at the last meeting?
Well, I think that last one, the slate,
Yeah.
that sort of ties in a bit of gray. I think
Yeah.
like a true gray is.
To go color bright.
Yeah.
But contrast.
It's always hard to choose roofing out of context.
Yeah.
I think that Reson Shake, I think the brown with the pink orange buff bricks, I don't think that's the right color combination. The black might be a little too severe. It's a big contrast. Yeah, so you might be looking at either the colonial slate or the weathered wood. The weathered wood. The weathered wood. Yeah, and it has a little bit of like that. I don't wanna call it peachy, let's just call it taupe. In there that might tie into the bricks nicely. Good mix of all.
Yeah, it's got warmer and cooler tones in it. Yeah.
And it might look a little more wood than like an asphalt shingle roof. So I think, yeah, whatever the committee decides, I think those are 2 reasonable options. I like the weathered wood as well. So softer. Thoughts?
Yeah.
Nancy? I like that one. The weathered wood as well?
Colonial slate.
Oh, you like the slate? Okay. Well, we've got it down to you. Can we just do like an informal vote? Is that sort of?
There's no such thing as an informal vote in the committee. But
It has to be a consensus?
no, it does not have to be a consensus.
Okay.
If a committee member wants to put forward a motion recommending one thing, there's no judgment over here,
Okay,
and then
and then
we
you
can,
just vote against it if.
yeah, the committee can decide.
It's hard, it's hard to tell if you're not standing back from the roof and seeing something up against the roof, right?
Pull up a picture of the building on your phone and hold it next to the shingles.
I feel like the weathered wood, there's that, that age. Look to the, we know it's a historical building, but like it ties into that really nicely.
Yeah, and it does have that color of the brick, kind of speckled in it, right?
Okay, I'm gonna throw a little wrench into our thought process. Could we make a motion that our choices are down to these 2? And that staff would take the samples to site and circulate a photo of how they look against the brick for a final decision? Can we do it that way?
The committee can definitely make that motion. If staff want to comment on that or give their advice, they can.
So can I ask a question?
Mhm.
So if we circulate a photo, what happens then?
Can we use that photo of these 2 like final selections?
Yes, and then you're all gonna get back to staff with your idea?
Yeah, like, okay, it's option A or option B. Is
And
that
what if
possible?
everyone doesn't agree?
Oh, okay.
And then time.
Kind of moving in timeline here too,
Yeah.
so that we can get
Okay.
the project completed, right?
My recommendation on the staff level, and I I know I did have a bit of conversation with Kyle, and I'm not trying to put any pressure on the committee, but I think it would be helpful for helping the project advance, to have a recommendation, by the committee. Of course, the committee makes the ultimate decision what kind of recommendation they want. If they want a follow-up, they can, but we would suggest at staff level, I think, having one shingle option coming up.
Decision today would be ideal.
Yeah.
Pull up a picture of the old number school on,
I don't want to do that on a live stream. I could maybe pull up on my phone. So sorry.
I just think it would probably be helpful if we could see at least kind of get a representation of it.
I think the difficulty would be, you need a photo that kind of displays the roof.
Well, if you go on Google Street View.
No, the other one of them.
Oh.
Do Google Earth, maybe.
Let me see what I can do for you.
This isn't very helpful, but
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, my student.
there, is that helpful? At least give a bit of the tone? I don't know.
I think you're right, actually, the Toby tone being pulled out. I think it would be very complimentary.
Okay, I'll put this in between. So like right now, it looks like there's a very strong contrast between the two, like with what's existing.
I feel like the slate would coincide with what's currently there, like it's resembles it more, but I do like the weapon wood.
The weatherwood would definitely give a look of like, I think closer to like a wood shingle, like a shake. Where the colonial slate would give the look, which probably what was originally installed, just a slate roof. So you go either way. I think what's there currently is something along the lines of the slate. So maybe we just come down to, I'm actually, in my opinion, now that I see the photo, is I'm leaning towards the slate.
Yeah, I like the contrast. I mean, if
Yeah.
you stare at it long enough, you're gonna see some of that, a little tiny bit of that taupey color naturally.
And it looks good here, like the weathered wood, but once it's up that high, you might not see it at all, and it might come off more brown.
Oh, that's a good point.
So maybe the safer option is to stick with what you know and lean towards the colonial slate, because we know it looks fine right now.
That's a very good point. You're right, you can, now that you say brown,
You
the
can see the
undertone is a
brown.
lot more brown.
And we're also looking at these under artificial light, not natural light, so that will be a huge difference as well.
We know the slate looks good, because we can
Yes.
see it now, so that's not it's a no fail option, that.
And it does look historic, like if further back, it would look like slate, and slate was used on roofs and buildings at that time. Usually, maybe not here, because you maybe couldn't afford slate, but it fits.
Yeah.
Right?
So it sounds like, I think we could put a motion forward, okay? So, Mark, do you want to propose the motion, or do you want me to?
I think it's pretty straightforward. You're basically advising, to do the slate, but, please go ahead, Ashley.
Okay. So the consensus of the committee, I think our recommendation is to select the colonial slate asphalt roofing tile as presented today. Is that sufficient?
Yes, it is.
Okay, if I can have a motion? Nancy, a seconder? Chanel, all in favor? Motion passed, done, good to go.
Thank you very much.
We will- Okay.
They were included in the agenda. Oh, were they not? Oh, maybe they weren't.
Sorry, Paul.
I,
Yeah.
nope, I have them right here, sorry.
Okay, perfect.
I got them.
Alright, so I will.
Or if you
Can I
forward-
speak on it quickly? Or
No,
nothing?
sorry.
No, I was just.
I will,
Right.
sure, represent you well.
Thank you very much. I'll be.
I'll call you back in.
Thank you.
First of all, my apologies, Karen, if you sent me a picture by email and
Did not, sorry, I had,
No, no.
I have photos here. Do you wanna have a?
Yeah.
Do I need to make a
Yeah,
motion?
just have a motion. If you don't mind, we're gonna put those images on the website as additional materials.
Okay,
So I only have one set. so
we
I
are-
look at them and then pass
I
it
just
around.
need a motion to accept the photos to accompany item number 7.2 on the agenda in regards to Prince Street proposed porch repairs. If I can, Nancy, thank you. Seconder, Deborah, all in favor? Motion passed. Fantastic. Okay, I'll hand it back over to you, Karen.
So, the property 11 Prince Street, or 10 Prince Street, sorry, is designated heritage structure. So for the newer members of the committee, when we have, planned repairs or renovations to a designated property, they do require approval from the Municipal Revitalization Heritage Advisory Committee, and depending on the nature of the work, they may require approval from council as well. So, the owners of 10 Prince Street have come forward indicating that they would like to move on with repairs to the porch on the property. So I'm circulating some photos that the owners have sent indicating the current condition of the porch. So they are looking to replace the boards with light boards. They don't have a color preference, but they have noticed that other historical homes around the block favor taupe color. But they're open to suggestions. So the photos that are being passed around do show the scope of the work that's needed. So, and that's basically it. So it looks, from what the information provided, it looks like it's a repair. They're not proposing to change the look of it, so I will follow your lead, but I think this is something that, because it's a repair, that the committee can take care and control of. It doesn't necessarily need to go to council, because they're not changing the look like that. I mean, unless you said.
No design change, just
There's no design, unless you said they can paint it purple or something, but I don't think that's gonna happen. So, so we are here for your thoughts and consideration, and I think if you have some suggestions about paint color, they would gratefully accept that suggestion.
I have a couple questions.
Okay.
Are the posts being replaced? Or, sorry, first, what does it note on the designation as to, is the porch heritage structure?
Oh, I knew this. Oh, no, Ashley, I have the bylaw printed off.
Sorry, Karen.
Can you give me 5 seconds to go and get it?
Okay.
Sorry.
Discussions.
Hmm.
Oh, sorry, that's my phone buzzing way over.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Okay, so. The designated attributes. The placement and orientation of the building on the east side of Prince Street. The scale, form, and massing of the two-story structure with a T-shaped plan and low hip roof. Original red brick construction with rubble stone foundation and large mortar joints. Visible at the northeast corner of the house. The fenestration pattern and style, the flat brick arches. Wood windows, 1/1 hung window, 1/1 hung window, and 2/2 wood storm windows. Some original wooden window frames and ribbons on the first story. Veranda wrapping around the southwest and north elevations with wooden columns, decorative brackets, and V-groove wooden soffit. And the solid wood front door, storm door with 6 glass panes, rectangular transom, and side lights.
Okay.
So the porch is on the list of attributes.
And it's a bit detailed as well. Okay,
Yes.
so is the intent then to replace, are they, the posts, are they in a condition that are beyond repair, or can they just be stripped and repainted?
I think the information provided is that they are going to strip and so they are working on sanding off the paint chipping on the posts. These will need to be repainted. During the interior renovations, they did locate some of the missing post accents and we'll put those back up.
Fantastic,
Okay.
okay,
The porch boards have rotted in several places, especially on the left side of the house, and need to be replaced. We are looking at replacing all of the porch boards to ensure consistency in appearance and safety for walking. This will need to be painted as well. The ceiling boards have heavy paint chipping. We are considering power washing the boards and repainting them as well. The power washing depends on board strength, as we do not want to replace the ceiling boards, rather restore them. The right side of the porch, the house facing, is missing some boards that will need to be replaced. For the most part, the ceiling boards are in good condition as they aren't heavily exposed to the elements. We are open to color suggestions for the painting. They're not overly particular on color as long as the overall look of the house flows together. The brick repairs include repointing some areas to prevent further damage and restore brick integrity. They're not replacing any brick. In the event some brick needs to be replaced, they did find some brick from the house in the basement, and they assumed that it came from a repair job that was previous to their current ownership. In the back addition, some bricks were removed from the back of the house and replaced with cinder blocks. This does not show outside as it is inside the addition. And so that's the extent of what they are planning to do. So from the written material, it sounds like it's, they're going to just clean and paint the posts and then add
perfect.
the original.
Well, I think the scope of work sounds very good and keeping in line with the bylaw. It makes sense that the deck boards would need to be replaced, and we know that I highly doubt that they are original. For the age of the house, probably not the first one that they've been replaced. Fantastic that they're intending on keeping this off it. So, do we have any other comments, concerns from committee members? Can we we'll need a motion, or is it just information as presented by the?
As far as I know, the committee does not feel strongly enough that they need to recommend anything specific or anything like that, so nothing is needed.
Sure, yes.
I'm thinking, she did ask for about color suggestions. Do we have any
Yes.
color suggestions?
That is a really good point. I wrote down the downtown guidelines. Are they in the boundary for our downtown Millbrook?
Streetscapes design guidelines?
Yes.
Think not. Right, because isn't it only on King Street that goes?
No, well, it's the BIA area.
Yes, they would be outside the BIA area
Okay.
because it's a residential street.
Okay, okay.
So they don't really apply, but.
It could be used as
a
guidelines, sure,
I
yeah.
was just gonna suggest that document had so much work put into it, and it's so great. I think it's a resource that should be
Mhm.
utilized as much as possible.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, you could forward that to them.
and I think there's hopes in there.
Yes.
Yeah, like if
Yeah.
the committee can give direction that
Yeah.
the taupey color is in line with what is acceptable, we can
Yeah.
certainly provide the streetscape design guidelines, and
Okay.
she can look through the range there and pick something suitable.
Okay. Sounds good.
So to you, Chair Stewart, it does sound like the committee, at least you are making a suggestion that that would, I would say, have a motion just to, when doing any repairs to the property, that to use the streetscape guidelines as a reference point, and that the colored taupe, if you want, if the committee so desires, they could recommend that color if that's what the committee wants. But I don't think we need a motion for that necessarily.
Make a suggestion though, that we do have a motion,
Yes.
that the proposed repairs are in keeping with the heritage attributes of the designated bylaw, and we accept the repairs as stated in their
Respondents?
respondents,
Yep.
Yep.
and then go with the recommendation for the color on top of that.
Okay.
If the committee is comfortable with that.
Yep, and what's the date of the notes?
June 9th, 2025.
Oh, yeah, okay. So I'm gonna sort of just put something together here, Mark, for you, but the committee, there's consensus among the committee that the repairs as outlined in the email to Karen Ellis dated June 5th, 9th, sorry, June 9th, 2025, for 10 Prince Street, is in line with the bylaw for the property and its heritage attributes as listed in the bylaw.
I can give you the number if you need it. Okay.
And the only recommendation from the committee is to refer to the downtown Millbrook design guidelines, specifically the recommended color palette. And we assume that sort of the owner's concept of a beige would fall within the color schemes presented in that guideline. Does that work for everybody? Something like that?
Okay, that's comments. Never seen them.
Sorry, to you, Chair Stewart, the color that you mentioned, I was just doing notes. I want to make sure, did you say beige or am I going crazy?
So was it beige or taupe?
Taupe, so you said beige, but.
Did I say beige? Okay, taupe.
Yeah,
There's a taupe tone within the guidelines.
I'm just making notes. You can proceed.
Okay. So if I can have a mover? Deborah? Sorry,
I'll move it.
okay, sorry, I thought you were your hand up.
No, it's okay. I'll
second.
figure it out.
Nancy, thank you. All in favor? Motion passed. Fantastic. Thank you. Okay, I'll grab.
See somebody who has
Okay. Now, we can move on to item number 3, review a proposed heritage, draft heritage bylaw. So in the meeting agenda, there was 3. I guess it's okay because the agenda is published, so the 3 included 8 King Street West, 11 King Street West, and 13 Ann Street. So again, these properties have been designated for a long time. This is just a part of our ongoing project to update the bylaws to current provincial standards, as required by the Ontario Heritage Act. So I took so these were initially done by a previous student, Connor. I went through and I've updated the draft. I've sent it to Karen. I should know with the little question marks, were those still in here?
Yes.
Okay, so in a couple of I think it was either 1 or 2 of the bylaws, sorry, I can't remember which
There's
ones.
2 of them.
There's question marks beside some of the heritage attributes. I could not tell from the photos, what a certain material was. So in discussions with Karen, we've left a question mark because now, once these are voted on today, they will be circulated to the property owners. And Karen has very kindly offered that when she provides them to the property owner, she's just going to sort of say, could you take a look at this and agree or disagree? They're nothing earth shattering. It's not going to make a huge difference. It's just, honestly, it just comes down to being accurate. So I'm not sure if anyone has had a chance to review them. If there's any comments or concerns, now is the time. And if there's not, we can
To the committee for Chair Stewart, I just want to, as you were referencing over
Yes.
there, you can see on the screen, this is an example of what Chair Stewart was referencing.
And often all it's been is that they've been painted, so I couldn't zoom in close enough to see either wood grain or like a rough texture of a stone. But in all honesty, at the end of the day, as I said, accuracy is better, but if it just does, if we have to delete it in its entirety, it won't make a huge deal. It's just nice if they're of those materials to capture that, because that type of construction is disappearing, because now it's typical either metal or concrete. Okay, questions, concerns?
Should we be leaving question marks in there? Should we be asking the homeowner to?
I will, that's the way we built it, is because they get to have a look at this before it goes to council. This is how we decided, instead of like sending them like one-off questions, they
Yeah.
can see it as an entity
Sure.
and then comment on everything, because we might ask the question and then they might come back with something else. Like a few months ago, when someone was able to document that, even though a brick chimney was built and looked very in keeping, they could date that the chimney was from the 80s and didn't feel that it should be included as an attribute.
Yeah, so as soon as when I circulate these to the property owners, I'll just highlight that we did have a couple of questions that they could clarify.
Cool.
And let them weigh in one way or another, or if they choose not to, then we'll deal with it. And then hopefully we'll have a clean bylaw to bring back to the committee in September, get your final okay of it, and then we'll do the notice and go to council.
So just a motion?
Just a motion to, I would recommend to support the draft bylaws as presented, if that's that's my sense of what the committee is saying right now.
Perfect, thank you, Mark. Okay, if I can have a motion? Deborah, seconder? Nancy, thank you. All in favor? Motion passed. Thank you. Okay. So it looks like our last item on the agenda is 7.4, the work plan. Okay, so starting at the top, landscaping around the station parket. Landscaping of the station parket for the training completion signage to be determined once signage has been completed. Pending the completion of the new sign. Oh, yes. Okay. I guess that's more of a John item, isn't it? Unless
It
can
is.
comment.
So I can confirm that staff has been out to
Okay.
Station Park to identify a potential location for the sign.
Okay,
So, and the sign, if you remember, we're gonna have the train switch signal.
Yep.
And then a little wording to go with it.
okay.
So John was on the hunt for the switch.
Yep.
And we've confirmed, like, so we have a budget.
Yep.
And we've confirmed with staff that to set that in the ground, we would need like an expert. Chris has kindly offered to set us up with someone that they use to do that work. So once we have a switch in our sites, then we can move forward and we can work on some wording for the sign.
Okay. I always forget that item number 1 and 5 sort of go hand in hand.
Go hand in hand.
Okay. So could we move on to item 2? Restoration of Springville and Ebenezer cemeteries. Yearly inspection completed on June the 12th, 2025.
Yes. So Doug and Chanel are kind enough to come with me to do our inspection.
Great.
Everything generally looks pretty good. There is one loose monument at Ebenezer. So I'll flag that to Cindy, who has the budget to make that connection. I'm thinking about getting that repaired. We also did notice at Ebenezer, there is some, I think they're lilies that are getting to be a bit much on the north side of the base of the monuments. So I'm gonna ask Parks and Rec if they can go and maybe thin that out a little bit.
You can't see
Yeah,
anything.
Okay.
They're blocking the
Yeah.
way.
yeah, the grass cutting though is immaculate, and we are very
Yes.
thankful for their help in that. Springville looked really good in terms of, everything is firm, there's no looseness. Everything is pretty clean, other than the traditional bird poop. The thing we noticed at Springville, and again, it sits at the, right on Highway 7. And there is significant growth in the ditch. That is an MTO issue. It's now starting to encroach into the cemetery. So I'm gonna make an approach to MTO and ask them to clean up the ditch. So it keeps their weeds out of our space. Okay, great.
Item number 3 is a review and update of the current heritage bylaws, so we just dealt with that. Item number 4 is the Heritage Awards.
We still have no nominations, so if you have somebody in it that's doing some work.
Okay, yeah, that's good. Item number 5 is the train station signage. So we just discussed that. That's fine, site visit to station. Okay. In the existing mural and restoration and maintenance.
So I reached out to the artist, John Lacy, and he has said he will be making an appointment to come sometime in July. He can't do it before that.
The DL, Springville and Ebenezer Cemetery signage. Committee reviewed the wording for Springville Cemetery at March 2025 meeting, Ebenezer wording to be reviewed at June 2025. Karen, what do you have to add?
So it's attached. Yep. The draft wording. And I can just, let you know that information on the Ebenezer Cemetery is scant.
Right.
So, true confessions, we went to look at a sign at, St. Paul's Anglican Cemetery on Zion Fourth Line. Their sign is fantastic. That they got money for through the CIP. They have a lot of information, so I was feeling a little inadequate, but then I think we gotta go, it can't be perfect, so this, as of this date, is the best I have to offer.
Okay,
Took a photo of that sign yesterday at St. Paul's.
and just for background information for relatively newer committee members, this one has been in like the research wheel for a long time. So Karen has gone above and beyond doing her due diligence to try to find anything and everything. So honestly, that we have 4 paragraphs, I think is mind blowing.
I am very grateful to Kim McLeod of the Historical Society. She is the one who came through, so very much thanks to her, but it's a little bit of an enigma, like.
Well, I would like to say, I don't know if this is appropriate, but on behalf of the committee, thank you very much, Karen, because you have stuck with this. Or I would have just been like, okay, you know what? I've got other things to do, so thank you. So Mark, remind me again, we have a draft here. Do we need a motion? Can I wait until we go through the work plan? What would you prefer?
If the committee specifically wants to sign off on this language, then I would suggest a separate motion, otherwise,
You would probably like a motion so we can put a little bow on this for you.
Yes, and then my friend Bridget and I can work together to actually get these signs made and get them installed.
Okay, so Mark, it's okay that I pause the work plan and we can have a motion?
100%.
Okay, so a motion just to accept the Ebenezer Cemetery sign notes draft as presented today. Motion by Chanel, seconded by Doug, all in favor? Passed. Fantastic. Yay. Thank you for attending today.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
You need your pen back.
Oh, you did, that's fine. Thank you, yeah, first, thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks. Okay, cultural mapping project. Well, fitting for today, work ongoing, GIS map. GIS app has been developed by Clipper County and information is being added, and we had a lovely presentation today. Update of the status of that project, so that's fantastic. Update on wayfinding signage policy, research underway on policy. So this ties back into our train station project slightly, because that's where we're sort of initiated any updates that are
Just,
relevant.
we're just kind of researching what other communities are doing and
Okay.
just kind of come up and then see what the county has, so.
Fantastic. Okay.
Still pretty preliminary.
The last item is our Springville Church artifacts. Committee to discuss plan on how to manage the artifacts removed from the Springville Church. We have some images attached to the agenda.
To the community through the chair, you can also view them on the big screen if you
Oh,
prefer.
fantastic. Okay.
So you can have the paper for it.
Okay.
If I may, through you,
Yes, please, Karen.
So I have, a representative of the Centerville Church has approached and have indicated their willingness to host this window
Okay.
in their church. So it would be inside. They have an existing window, and I'm sorry, I can't remember exactly from another church that they are also hosting and looking after inside.
Okay.
I thought it was a fantastic idea for us to discuss, because I know we have thought long and hard about what are we gonna do with these when we get them? That way, the window would be protected inside, still a public building, people can go inside and see it. So that is question number one
Okay.
for the committee, if that is something that you would be interested in pursuing that partnership with the Centerville Church.
Would it be as a window or a display?
It would be a display
Yeah.
inside the church.
Okay. Okay, and then, so, I think so. And then the second window here. So this is, I think the reference, this is above the first window we just looked, correct? Yes, okay, so that's all part of the bell tower. And the bell part is in the lilac bushes right now.
Yeah.
So has anybody sort of posed interest in this specific window as well, or no? Okay.
That's about 20 feet high, is that right? Fairly tall, right?
I'm counting the bricks.
Yeah.
Very high.
So 40 times what, like 2.75 inches approximately?
That's a little bit over 100 inches, then,
10 feet.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we've asked for this, but then what do we do with it?
Yes, and I think we need some kind of plan, because
Okay.
just to give you all lots of notice, when we come back in September, we're gonna be talking about our budget request.
Right.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, the request also includes retrieval, right? So we'd have to pay for the retrieving of that window, taking it out.
I believe that the Ministry of Transportation's salvage efforts will
Okay.
get it out.
I'll take
and
it down.
They'll take it down and make it available to us. What we do with it then,
We pay to move it and then install.
we probably
Okay.
can move it and store it, place it somewhere.
Yeah,
These
okay.
are the things that we need to think about.
Okay,
Because we do, in September, we'll have to make our budget
right.
requests for 2026. And I'm sure Councillor Edgerton will back me up that we'll need to have some kind of
Yeah.
legitimate, concrete plan, or
Right.
we will not be successful in getting the money.
Right.
Okay. Okay, that's, we have this, so we know it's on our, I've just written down what to do with this, okay? And then if we can go to the next photo, so I think it's just a discussion in its entirety. We have some bricks. And the last one. So yeah, this
Push
is,
now.
yes, exactly. So I guess we can just have a discussion as a committee. is we have one, two, let's call them 4 items. The group of bricks will just treat it as an entity. Item number 1, proposal is to be hosted by the Centerville Church. Which unless committee members have an issue with, I think is a fantastic idea for it to go find a new home. And then we do have 3 more items that I believe are worthy of being salvaged, but it's then, okay, where are they going? What are we doing? And then I guess essentially this would also tie into, like Karen just mentioned, funds for our budget request for next year to execute potential ideas. So is it a decision that we have to make today in regards to these 3 items? I'm just thinking, could we potentially just, now that the committee has actually seen what the items are, maybe brainstorm a little bit and come up with some ideas, or?
The only thing I would say to you, Chair Stewart, and I think Karen would probably back me up, is in terms of any method that we might need to do for retrieval, storage, or if they're supposed to be put on display some way, it might be good to have the committee communicate to staff ahead of time so they can get some quotes probably for what the cost estimates are. I don't want to speak for you, Karen, but I think that would kind of be my advice. So. And we would need that in advance
Yeah.
before September,
Yeah.
well in advance. So.
Because I perceive, maybe incorrectly, I don't know, but like things like the hitching rail is probably not a major ordeal to move it. So probably township staff could move it
Okay.
and possibly install that like in the Springville Cemetery, if that's where we decided we wanted it to go.
Okay,
That's something I think is achievable. The window in the tower,
yes,
I think MTO salvage people would get it out of the tower.
okay,
But we would probably then have to move it, and where do we take it and what do we do with it?
okay,
And if it's a matter of, yeah, we're gonna take it, we're gonna store it for a year while we decide, that may be an option as well. But if there is ideas about we wanna display it, or we wanna hang it somewhere, or incorporate it into, a peaceful, I don't wanna call it shack, but a little bit
Yes.
somewhere,
okay,
those all need to, like, we need to get quotes for that, or have an idea of what the budget might be.
okay. Okay,
Because the budget session comes very quickly.
okay, okay, so what, okay, 2 out of 4, so I think it sounds like I'm just trying to think of the most we get. Item number 1, I think we're good. Item number 2, I think it would just be wise to have it brought by staff and stored. And then, because it sounds like can be easily transported.
I would think so, but I'm not an expert either, but I can certainly talk to township staff. about
Okay,
that.
so then maybe that's it, it's just asking, sort of the feasibility of transporting, item number 4, and it's temporary storage until it is, reinstalled elsewhere. Cause I think something like that, it can go outside, that's fine.
Yeah, but the committee needs to provide direction on where you would like to see it installed,
Okay,
and if you want any information to go with it, what that looks like, because that all gets built into the cost of the
Right.
project. The one thing I will say about all this too is I don't have confirmation from the Ministry of Transportation when the demolition is gonna happen.
not even a ballpark,
No. So I just don't wanna get caught flat-footed.
Mhm.
So I will follow up
okay,
again and see if I can get more information from them,
okay,
and that may dictate the timing of all this, because if they say it's not happening in 2025 or 2026, then we may have another year to deliberate.
right,
But I would rather be working toward a plan and have a plan and be ready to go.
Can you do it, are they willing to do it in parts? I mean, you could theoretically take the hitching post and the bricks out of there tomorrow, right? If we had a spot for them and an idea.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
then leave them
we
with,
signed,
yeah,
and we can't go inside, so we would have to wait for their
Right.
experts to get them out.
Yeah.
But yeah, technically
yeah,
and they may be willing to do that if we had a plan in place of what
Right.
we wanna do.
Gotcha.
well, perhaps the installation of the hitching post and the bricks could go hand in hand.
Mhm. I was thinking that too.
Like perhaps they become like pavers, or they become like, posts for the hitching posts, like build up some
Yeah.
piers,
Mhm.
so they're out of the ground. So maybe that becomes a little project in itself. As for location, I look to others. I have no idea where would be an appropriate spot for its installation. My only input would be like, maybe it makes sense to keep it close to its original home.
Mhm.
Yeah, I thought of that too. I used to attend the church, right? It's like, so, had some particular interest in the project, but, I thought that, and I thought, could it go there or could it go, downtown in Millbrook, like a traditional hitching post with some signage of where it originated from, like in front of the post office or by Needler's Mill or even at the library, right? So those are three ideas I had
Okay.
as options, but I like your idea because I thought of the bricks, you could do something and incorporate both of those two artifacts together.
And you could even do it and you could decide on a height, because if you put it at a traditional hitching post height. So what was that? I'm trying to remember when we were there, like maybe like 3-4 feet. So it was kind of like it was sort of at like chest height, right?
Yeah.
But perhaps you like could put it a little bit lower and it could just be sort of like a like a bench almost, like you just rest your.
Mm.
Like not an actual seat, but. Well,
Can we get any of the boards that it's attached to? Cause then you could have the boards or the hitching post in the bricks. as a
Yeah, you're right.
foundation. Then it gives context. to
That
it,
makes
as to
sense.
What it would look like, right? So,
I can certainly make the request.
cause where else is the wood gonna go anyway? Right?
Yeah,
So,
they'll just get rid of it.
yeah,
so what would be some possible locations nearby the church that would be appropriate?
Like the cemetery is an obvious one to me.
Okay,
Um, it's further, the other one's further up the road that I thought of, like the Bruce Johnson Ranch is also an option.
Yeah, there's a library in North Monaghan for
Yeah.
us.
right.
Yeah.
That's that one little guy,
On Davis
At
Road. there.
Davis Road, yeah.
yeah, okay.
that's closer.
It is like, and you think of like, I was thinking sentimentally in terms of there's still some members of the old congregation that live near there. Now, that's not gonna go on forever, obviously, but
Yeah.
there's some significance that way, but
Okay,
Yeah, I like your mention that way, cause I mean, we should keep that in mind, cause it's hard for people when their churches close and
Mhm.
things like that, is there something you can look at close by?
Yeah, the other option, we could approach Centerville and see if there's a place
true.
there as
Yeah.
well, because there is
Yeah.
a connection between Centerville
Yeah.
and Springville
Okay.
churches now.
Okay.
Yeah, makes sense.
so I'm just writing this down for potential motion. Okay, so. And then perhaps if either of those 3 locations don't work out, then maybe it just goes into storage and could it be integrated into the new downtown park?
Or old school.
So there's lots of locations,
Mhm.
so I think
Yeah.
it's just retrieval and the potential storage until we're ready for it, but I think we have an action plan in regards to at least executing something with the integration of the bricks, the hitching post and potentially some of the barn board. Okay. So is that helping? And we'll put this all into a motion. We're
Yeah,
still just.
I see, like, I'd like 2 things. I mean, we might just do a separate motion for the Centerville endorsement of, item number 1, being kept at Centerville. And then I hope I did not say that, or I'm not using the wrong bill. Yeah, Centerville.
Yeah.
And then there were kind of 2 parts. The other one is maybe have staff explore some of the options raised at the committee and the costs related to it, or work on refining some design options and the related costs, but also maybe get some quotes for short to medium term storage of the items until a final option is decided for the other 3 items.
I'm hoping we have some space
Mhm.
of our own.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Okay.
In our big new public works building. And big new building stuff, I know.
And honestly, the books could even be stored outside. On a
Yes.
pallet and just cover it with like loosely covered with a tarp, that'll be fine. As long as those like the frogs are down, it's good. That's the indentation in the brick.
Yes, okay.
Okay, so the window. The second window. So it is not a small window. Can we just make the assumption that MTO with their demolishing this building, they would be responsible for getting that window down to grade. And then we would be in charge of moving it to wherever it needs to go. So it is a wood window. It could go outside, but it is now no longer a part of the building envelope. So if you see it as sort of just this, we'll call it a sculpture somewhere, it would have to be restored and treated as such, perhaps with investigations of like external sort of finishes on the outside, but it is wood, so it is going to weather. So perhaps an outside application isn't the right answer. So then if it's an inside application, where could that potentially go?
It could be affixed to a wall inside wall of the building. I'm thinking what buildings are large enough to accommodate potentially.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I was thinking the same thing. You can hang it somewhere too, but community center might be the only one that's got the height to do that.
Yeah, I mean, if there's gonna be any other historical displays at the community center, it would fit in with.
Yeah.
I've seen things like that done with smaller windows being hung on walls in various buildings. With a little plaque, some kind, yeah. Yeah,
And then depending on when it gets down, I guess a decision would have to be made on where it's going. Do you do restoration or do you, if it's going inside, you could just leave it as it is. And like, if like the bottom sills that are like significantly rotted, maybe you do replace those just for structural integrity.
Yeah, that does look weak at the bottom. I don't be concerned with
well, it's
that, but
crooked.
yeah.
So I think for this one, it's going to be dictated, can we find it at home? And then its home will tell us what needs to be done. So we know it's large. Is there any municipal level areas that would be interested in displaying this as almost like a piece of art, a piece of called sculpture?
I think we have to have an internal discussion about that on a staff level. That might, depending on the facility it's stored in, we might want the support of council as well, depending on it. It's a possibility that the staff can explore if the committee seeks to do that. I'm not the facilities manager over here. Chris had to run off to do some other stuff, so I don't want to speak for him. I don't think Karen does either.
I'm just, honestly, I just don't know where else it could go other than sort of being inside.
I would agree, it should be inside.
If you did put it inside, can you hang it on a wall?
Yeah.
Could we hang it in here?
That's what I'm thinking, like, you might be able to just put it right there and just put it up high enough that you don't need your
That's
head
right.
on it. Or
Mhm.
even
Yeah,
at
that's a good
like,
idea.
once that window gets out,
Yeah,
it's not,
right here,
like, it's no different than like it'd be a little bit deeper than like even that canvas there.
Okay.
It'd be neat to have in this room, seeing as we gather in here. So,
It's actually a good point.
but it's also a reminder there of any other city meeting here. Nature of the township, history of the township.
And I'm thinking actually too, if it is inside and we could find a space somewhere, whether at a municipal facility or if someone else is willing to host it. like, let's say Nexicom said, oh yeah, we'll put it in one of our buildings. If it doesn't need to be restored at all, the cost is probably not huge to move it and hang it. You
Exactly.
need a qualified person, obviously, to do that.
You have to
Yeah.
mount it securely.
Yeah.
Yeah, because wherever it's gonna go, you just have to make sure, like, it's not just like hanging.
Mhm.
Like a 3 or 4 pound canvas.
That's right.
It's probably gonna need some pretty serious anchors.
Yeah.
In the wall.
Do we have enough then to put a motion together? Like, it's not,
Yeah, I can try summarizing it. So
Okay.
maybe separate motion just to support the stained glass
Yes.
being I guess donated to Centerville to put on display. And then for item number 2, that staff explore some of the long-term options for I don't want to use the word storing, but displaying the artifacts, including the Bruce Johnson Library, township, well, other township buildings, and Centerville Church as well. Did I miss a location or? Yeah.
unless, do we wanna do, sorry, Mark, it's just sort of jumping in on you. What if we did 3 to keep this organized? 1 for this window, I think that's straightforward.
Mhm.
2 for the longer window,
Mhm.
because it's gonna be an interior fixture somewhere. And then for 3, like, this would have to be stored as well, but then for 3, because this one would have to be stored, then built, and then installed. So, is that okay?
No problem. If the committee thinks their comments will be recorded most clearly with 3 different motions with the identifying the specific items, I'm fine with that. I'll make sure everything's recorded accurately in the minutes.
It's for using Cheetos, right?
Sure.
So we just keep talking about too. So.
Okay. Okay, so for item number 1, the motion would be something along the lines of, the committee agrees with, Centerville Church to host the, stained glass window.
Give me just 2 seconds. I want to make sure I have my notes. Okay.
Okay, if I can have a motion, mover, Deborah, seconder. Nancy, all in favor? Motion passed. Thank you. The second one, so this is our longer, hallway window, in the bell tower. So this sort of encompasses multiple things. And we'll have to investigate, cost of transporting the window. Perhaps some short-term, storage. And then, an interior installation. And the cost of those, that installation.
It would also be a cost in storing it properly, like is there any special treatment that needs to happen, like, I don't know. Stored in a wooden box or whatever, like is there any associated cost with that?
It's not stained glass. And as long as it's not being stored in sort of like a barn, it would be okay, like as long as, it all depends on what the storage options.
I'm just thinking about the budget, that's all,
Yeah.
if there's any kind of cost implication for
Yeah.
that.
It should be okay because it's an exterior window.
So I think they'd have to build a brace so to move it, right? So whatever that brace is, but could probably use to store it as well.
Okay,
But the brace, if we're responsible for the building the brace, that's all the details you
Yeah.
can. Where it's like,
I
yeah,
can ask him,
Yeah.
you know, it's been a little challenging, but anyway.
Sorry, Mark, where did we leave off?
I just have something here for item number 2, that staff investigate the cost of transport, source from storage and possible inside installation.
Okay.
And I know the committee mentioned specific locations, including township buildings. Do you want to support that, or do you just want to keep, if the committee wants to keep it generic, they can not include that in the motion?
I think we should maybe just explore options, all options, including the ones suggested by the committee, right?
Mhm.
Like the municipal.
So I guess just, yeah, explore, like, just doing a little bit of investigation to possible installation locations.
Yeah.
Whether that is a township office or Nexicom.
Yeah, or near a library or the library or something.
Should we also add to that motion as well, the inclusion of like a little, I'm just thinking, like, if we're gonna start thinking about budget in September, like a cost for like a little plaque?
Yeah.
Okay,
I can add that to motion, so that'll just be a second part of that motion, just the also township, explore maybe the cost, and I don't want to say, no, we don't need enough wording yet for a plaque for the, for item number 2.
okay. And I'm assuming, sorry, we're sort of going back and forth on this one, but the transportation, if there was concerns about like maybe building a box for it, because then the box could help it be transported and stored.
Mhm.
Um.
Yeah.
It's vague enough that that could at this point be captured in the.
I could modify the language in the first part of the motion to say cost of secure transport or safe transport, if the committee's comfortable with that.
So are there people who do that, like if that's their business? I've never
They
transported.
move
any-
stuff like that?
Yeah.
Like, there's like McWilliams and small companies, they'll
Yeah.
move pianos and they'll,
Yeah.
Mhm.
heavy and delicate stuff. Yeah, they do
Okay.
that. You get movers.
Any good demolition contractor should be
Yeah.
able to recommend. Especially if they've done heritage. The other thing too is, they can't just like cut the ceiling and take it out. They might actually have to reinforce it from the back as well,
Mhm.
just depending on the condition. So like, they might put some like, strapping across the back and they would nail it to it, but
Yeah.
as long as you communicate, okay, the intent would be for the exterior face to be outside facing wherever it's installed. If you have some nail holes in the back or screw holes, like,
Yeah, yeah,
you'll
okay,
never see them.
okay. I think I
Yeah.
need that. I think I need a conversation with them. too.
Yeah, it just keeps it plumb. Yeah, okay. And then our motion for the third item. Again would be, so this is the bricks, and hitching post, and some, potentially some fireboard. Again would be, I think this one would be a sort of longer term storage. To permit committee to develop a project and design. And then staff was going to reach out to possible locations for an exterior installation. Do we need to include those ones we discussed, or?
I don't think so unless the committee feels that they want to specify an option.
Okay.
Could we say have it in the. Ideally have it in the area, the original area of the church would serve. Ideally, but.
I guess we could add a preference for keeping it close to home.
That's exactly
Yeah.
what it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Like
that
this
might
one.
be either the library, the cemetery.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It says no.
There's nothing any more secure than a sea can and a shotgun.
We should put that in the motion.
Yeah.
I heard I mentioned a shotgun also.
Yeah, that.
But a sea can is just about secure storage as you can get. Like they're dry.
Yes,
They're rodent proof, aren't they?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
rodent can't get in
Yeah.
there.
Be great.
And the rodent,
You get it.
They can get anywhere, they
no,
really.
they can't get into sea cans if they're done upright. Cause it's all metal.
They get in there.
They can get in anywhere.
Yeah, yeah.
Bunkers.
So,
Okay, so we've got our three motions. Do we need to repeat them again and then have like that, or what would
unless
you like me to do?
you already had a vote on the first motion.
Okay.
The second one, yeah, we would need a vote. If you'd missed that one, I would have pumped the brakes and said, to you, Chair Steer, we would
Okay.
like. Third one, just for you to know what I have. So basically the bricks, hitching posts, and some of the board, the hitching post is attached to, that the
Okay.
committee is asking for us to explore, long-term storage options was the word used, while an option for exterior display is being found, outside display is being found with a preference for a location nearby Springville.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so as Mark just presented in regards to the hitching posts and the bricks, if I can have a motion. Nancy, thank you. Seconder? Deborah, all in favor? Motion passed. Okay, so I think we did the vote on 1 and 3. Do we need to go back to 2?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Do we need to I know you said it, but do we need to repeat it again before I?
I can give, you do have notes, Ashley,
I
or?
do not, sorry.
No, it's okay. So I'm the secretary here, so. So that the largest window in the bell tower, staff investigate cost of transport, short-term storage, and install inside installation options, and costs for inside installation options, including at township buildings and other privately owned buildings in the community. And that a cost for a plaque also be included.
Okay, if I can have motions. Nancy, thank you. Seconder, Doug, all in favor? Motion passed. Perfect. Okay, so that brings us to the end of our work plan, correct? Okay, so we can just adjourn the meeting?
Just to share, just adopt the updates to the word.
Oh, yes, thank you, thank you. Okay, sorry. So if we can adopt the updates to the work plan as discussed. So I can have a motion. Nancy, thank you. Seconded. Deborah, thank you. All in favor? Motion passed. Okay, now we can adjourn the meeting. So we can put, I need to put a date to, or a time to the meeting, or I can just call the meeting?
Just a motion to adjourn, and then I'll record the time that the.
So motion to adjourn, if I can have a Nancy, seconder Doug, all in favor? Passed. Perfect. Thank you, everyone.
Hold on, no more swearing, just a minute.
Thank you, Jared.